I've got a big vision for it, and it really feels like a community, a movement. What we do is really helping people bring their own visions and dreams in their life to light.
Hey everyone, thanks for joining us today. I'm Ryan Bulbert from Cherry Assistant. I'll be hosting today's episode of Behind the Founders. And with us today, we've got my lovely guest, Willa Kammerer. So Willa, if you don't mind just introducing yourself and then we'll take it from there.
Sure, yeah. My name is Willa Kammerer. I've been an entrepreneur my whole career of more than 17 years. I lead the company Firestarter, and I'm so happy to be here with you today, Ryan. Thanks so much.
Thank you so much for your time. So yeah, I took a look at your LinkedIn profile. Very interesting stuff with the way Firestarter evolved. So if you don't mind just telling us how that started, your kind of from the jump, how you decided this is what you want to do and how it changed over the past few years into what it is now.
Sure, great. So right after college, I decided, you know what? I want to be a public radio producer. I want to work in public radio. So I started exploring that space and I started freelancing. And, one thing led to another. I said, you know what? If now is the time that I'm going to give this a shot. So I started freelancing, got a job waitressing, and one thing led to another. And pretty quickly that freelance public radio career evolved into freelance video and film production. This was back in like 2009, 2010. So kind of like the earlier days of the internet. And
Yeah.
I did everything myself for the first few years. Yeah, exactly. And that was great. I learned a lot just by working with clients and running everything myself. But I realized I was just always going to be kind of capped at the level of kind of quality, scale, and impact if I continued doing everything myself. So that's when I started building more of a team around me, just, initially hiring people kind of project based, for the things that I felt like I was less good at. So I kind of became manager of moving parts, and working with a team of collaborators. And that I formalized into my company today, Firestarter. So for the first, I would say 2/3 of our run as a business, we were really focused. We've always been focused in the brand space, but it was more big brands, kind of institutional brands, so much more B2B. So working with colleges, universities like Harvard and some other, big names and global brands and foundations. And then a few years ago, about 4 years ago, obviously there was COVID. I became a mom. I became a single mom. And the business I had built was really strong. It was going well. And I was proud of the work that we were doing. It was, working on high impact projects for a lot of good causes with a lot of great clients. But I felt like I had this just next level of personal leadership that I was meant to step into, just more of my own voice and impact that I want to bring into my work. And so that led me to really throw myself deeply into the personal brand space, which is where we're immersed today. Both my journey, building my own personal brand and then applying everything that I've learned along the way to how we support clients today doing the same at Firestarter.
Okay, amazing. Well, first off, congrats on being a mom and making it through COVID and everything. I know a lot of businesses.
Exactly. We all did. We're all here. We're all here to talk about it.
Yeah, I know a lot of businesses took a really big hit during that like 2019, 2020 period. So really great job on just surviving and thriving through that. That's no easy achievement. For the listeners who aren't clued up, would you mind just giving them a small breakdown just of what Firestarter actually is, like what you guys really focus on, like for the late years,
Yeah, sure. So Firestarter today really focuses on helping individuals and, companies, teams, anyone building a personal brand, really. So someone who has an expertise and impact that they're looking to make and really building a brand around that. And when I think of brand, it's like the whole digital foundation. And that is, the visuals, the messaging, and then also the systems that run that. And I think that that is our differentiator in how we think of brand is it's not just, the colors and the logos and the messaging and the aesthetics. It's like the whole foundation and the whole tech foundation of that. And for us, it's the alignment between the tech foundation and also like the brand as it's expressed. So that was not a simple way of explaining it, but the way I'll break it down is that Firestarter today, works on both sides of brands. So the tech foundation, we have a go high level white label platform, Firestarter Funnels, where we have a community of over 130 entrepreneurs building their businesses on our platform. So kind of like running the back end tech of their platform, as well as, the front end funnels, websites, all of that. And so we have, people who are doing it themselves with a lot of support that we have as part of that. And then we're also, we hands-on help people build websites, build funnels, and do all their branding.
Okay, nice. So a lot of boutique support as well for like clients who can't really run it on their own.
Yes. Exactly. And I think that's where, a lot of people get stuck. It's a lot. A lot of people start out, I want to create an online business because, I want to coach around fitness or, my passion for this or my passion for that. But it's not because they wanted to master marketing and branding and tech and just figuring out how to navigate that in my own journey of trying to figure out the online space. I just found like that was such a barrier for myself and for other people I've seen along the journey. So we really reverse engineered everything that we do at Firestarter to help solve that, to be really that implementation layer where we see a lot of people getting tripped up.
Yeah. So like bridging the gap where tech is kind of the issue for a lot of people because it's a whole different mindset and skill set for marketing. So you guys kind of want to bridge that for those people who can't reach that.
Exactly. So that they can focus on the work that only they can do.
Okay, nice. And you mentioned, the way you guys look at branding, it's not just colors, it's not just the messages. So to you, like personal branding, it's more than just a corporate identity document. It's more than that.
Absolutely. To me, brand really starts at identity, especially when you're building a personal brand. Always I believe that everyone is uniquely meant to build in their own way. And that's really where we step into our most power as a brand and just able to influence, able to pull people towards us to be part of who we are and what we're creating. So at Firestarter, yeah, we don't, think of it as just colors, logo. We really start with who you uniquely are and how you're uniquely meant to build. So identity goes into brand then gets expressed across, the whole foundation. We actually have a pretty cool, we call it our authority map. So it's an assessment that helps really kind of cut deeply to helping both us and the people that we work with understand who they are and how they are uniquely meant to build. Myauthoritymap.com if anyone wants to check it out.
Actually, just going to ask if you don't mind just
Yeah.
expanding. That sounds really like interesting. I haven't heard of that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Without
So, in our work, so we work, closely with our clients in our kind of like higher level engagements, just really trying to kind of tease out through long coaching sessions. Okay. So understanding who they are and how they're different and how to kind of express that as part of a brand. And that's great, but it's not accessible for everyone. And so I've always found different personality assessments and perspectives on who we are as just a really interesting and useful lens for deeper self-understanding. And so what we did was take the Enneagram assessment, which is a really powerful, just kind of like identity assessment, very well respected, in the world. We took that and combined it with Bank Code, which is another just very powerful assessment, especially as it relates to how you show up in the marketplace, how you connect with other people, influence other people. Combine that with our business and brand building methodology. And so what you get back is this, you take those assessments along with human design as an optional layer as well. And we put it through our, nifty difty AI tool, which I custom developed. AI is obviously a whole nother topic. It's a, wild time with AI, but a very cool time, as an entrepreneur, as a builder, for anyone who is looking to bring something to life in the world. And so what, comes out is this just really powerful 45-page report that kind of speaks to the heart of who you uniquely are, how you're uniquely meant to build based on these, robust and respected assessments.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. So it gives
Yeah.
like a full breakdown, not just a quick little, oh, you're an A-type personality, like 45 pages of
Exactly. So, and I think the special thing about it is it's specifically speaks to building a business and building a brand. So, it takes the Enneagram, which you could just read about yourself, but it's like, okay, so what does this mean for how you're meant to build? What type of business model is a best fit for you? For someone, it might be, one-on-one coaching. For other people, like leading like big group experiences, being in the room, being on stages. For other people, they're more kind of like behind the
back
scenes,
end.
maybe having
Yeah,
like
yeah.
an evergreen, digital course. Then, kind of like suggested brand colors, tone, voice, all of this. So it's super fun to kind of create the whole framework for it. And we've found it's just really spot on, with our clients. And it's never like, this is absolutely like you have to follow every word of this. It's more just like a
Just a guideline.
useful reflection tool. Exactly.
Okay, nice. So it's like, but this person's more introverted. They're gonna want to run their thing from the back end of the scene. They don't want to be shouting out
Yeah.
loud what's going on here. Okay, wow.
Yeah.
I'm gonna
Yeah.
have to actually
Yeah.
take a look at that because that's
So
really
we've got,
interesting.
no, you've got to, so I'm a luminous catalyst, but we've got, refining architects, and there's
I love titles.
36
Loving these titles.
types. Yeah, exactly, exactly. So we kind of created our own versions
Your
of
own like
each of the
personality
assessments.
spectrum, kind
Yes,
of.
exactly. Yeah.
So that's really cool. I'm definitely gonna take a look. And you actually
Awesome.
mentioned something I wanted to touch on later. This custom made AI tool that you've got, because like you say,
Mm-hmm.
create right now in the tech space, it's
Yes.
it's insanely accessible for anyone. Like anyone can open up Claude, Gemini, ChatGPT, and all that. So I actually wanted to ask, what kind of tool is this that you guys have? Who decided to implement it? How did you guys implement it? What does it do for you?
Yeah.
Because
So
that's a topic right there.
Yeah. So I think one of the, kind of biggest things that happened to me this year was, I always think it's so powerful to be in rooms where people challenge you and expose you to different things. So I was at a mastermind event. I think it was back in April, maybe March or April, in California. And someone who was part of the group was just presenting on how he was using AI in his business. And, I'd been playing around. Of course, we all started on ChatGPT, and then I had moved over to Claude, but I'd begun to experiment a little bit with cowork, but had mostly stayed kind of in chat and a little bit of cowork experimentation. But he just encouraged everyone to just, take take hold of the reins and just not be afraid of Claude Code. And I really just took that as a permission slip to just, open it up and start, taking my ideas, bringing them there, and seeing what I could build. So I'd had this idea. I think I'd already started working on it. I'd had this idea for kind of creating this report, combining these methodologies. I actually know Sherry Tree, who's the founder of Bank Code. And, we'd been talking about different ways to collaborate. So I had been cooking on this, but I think his permission to just really go all in on Claude Code and just start building things really was what I needed. And so I first used that to develop the report format, but then I wanted it to be scalable and wanted it to be something there. We didn't have to kind of go and customize, hand create the report every time, because I wanted to make it,
Yeah.
accessible to more people. Right. So, I spent a lot of time kind of getting the report framework right. But what happens is, people take the assessments that gets emailed to our team, goes into our system. And then actually my assistant Fly, who's amazing, she just can upload the reports and it creates. So I created a kind of front facing tool, that she has access to. So she's not in my Claude. It's like a deployed tool. So she can upload the reports and it's all branded and stylized as ours. And then she can download the report and send it out to people. And this can all happen like in the space of, 15 minutes after they submit their results. So
Also,
it's pretty amazing. And the cool thing is, it's standardized to the sense that like it's automated the creation of it based on their individual results. But the Enneagram alone, you might be a type 7, but there's all the kind of like wings and subtypes under that.
yeah,
So there's really almost infinite possibilities for, how the different kind of
all the
assessments
categories
can
and
can
stuff.
pair. Exactly. So it really is truly custom.
Hmm. Yeah, no, I'm definitely going to take a look because, I mean, you said what about 32 different kind of titles? That's mathematically, that's more than
Yeah,
1,000.
36, which even if you like compare, yeah, exactly. So
That is
it's
an
pretty
insane
cool.
amount of customization. No,
Yeah.
that's great. I really want to take a look at that. Uh,
Yeah.
and I know you mentioned you at the start when you opened up about what Firestarter is, you mentioned employing people on like project based, like the things that you weren't too great at. What kind of things were those? The things that you don't really enjoy like doing in this space?
Yeah, well, I would say my first, hire, or the first thing that I hired out, was prior to really starting to kind of formalize into more of a company. It was when I was early days of being a, radio producer. And the way that what you would do is you would interview someone, and then the standard way that I was taught was then would have to go transcribe that interview. So literally sit down for 2 hours and type out the interview. This is
Yes.
long before AI transcripts. And I had very little money, but it still just struck me as a very poor use of my time. And so that was the very, very first thing that I delegated and hired out for. And then it just grew from there. So when we were more focused, as I was evolving into, from freelancer into team and business, we were really immersed in the production space. And so, it was starting to, instead of doing all the editing myself, it was starting to work with editors. It was, instead of doing all the filming myself, it was hiring a cinematographer, because I was never going to be the best cinematographer, the best editor. I loved doing all of it and I was interested in it, but I just knew it wasn't kind of on my heart, kind of my thing that I was most passionate about, or
Yeah,
frankly, that
wasn't like
as
thing
skilled
that
at
gave you
to
the,
be
yeah,
like the master of my craft at, right? But I knew that there were people who
to like
I had
live
so
and
much
breathe.
respect. Exactly. And so I started, bringing those people on, based on projects. And then I know you work, in the kind of staffing and support space. And I think the next key milestone for me was going from just hiring people project to project to actually bringing someone on really internally to be alongside me day to day in my operations. Daniela, my who joined me as a virtual assistant. I think 2000. It's been more than 5 years. She's still with me. She's our longest Firestarter team member. But yeah, she joined, and yeah, to kind of be alongside me in the trenches of the business. So that was the next key hire.
Okay. And how was that experience for you? I know you said virtual assistant, so how was that as opposed to, my teammate sitting next to me? Because also
Yeah, exactly.
that's
It
not
was
something
kind of
that's
funny how it happened. Yeah, because it was, let's see, I mean, it was mid-COVID and I knew I was becoming a mom and I got this cold message on LinkedIn like, "Hey, have you ever thought of, hiring a virtual assistant?" I'm like, it's funny because I actually have. It's been on my to-do list. So I was like, let's have a
yeah,
conversation. So
that's an
I
algorithm.
ended up hiring, yeah, her at the time through a staffing company. Ended up, working with her directly a couple of years after that. But I just knew that I was going to have a baby and I needed to keep the business going, and I wasn't going to be able to do it all myself. And so I think letting go of some of those things initially can be really hard, like how to initially start delegating things. But it's one of the most, high impact places that you can focus is to, start to kind of assess where are those things that I can let go and hand off and get help. And then once you have someone doing those things, the relationship becomes so natural. So it can feel like really hard initially, but I think to kind of force yourself to
To
do
take
that
that step.
exactly.
Okay. And what were those things that initially you were like, I still want to do this. I don't want to pass this off just yet. What was like the toughest for you to let go of to Daniela?
Yeah. I mean, I think the easier things were things like calendar, scheduling, things like that. She got into my inbox pretty early. I'm still fairly in my inbox in the sense that, most emails still come from me and things like that. But I think the harder
Nothing.
things were yeah, I think the harder things were more of like the creative work, the kind of client facing creative work that it just felt like there were things that only I could do. But ultimately, a little bit after, bringing Daniela in, that kind of built my muscle of delegation. And I was able to bring in another team member shortly after that to start to take on, some of those more client facing, like the core work of the business again, because there's nothing like having it be a little bit forced by knowing that I needed to have the business continue, but I also was becoming a mom. So that was one of the best things probably that could have happened in terms of creating an inflection point for the business to just begin to build a lot more support around
Yeah.
me.
Just to expand further. And how big is your team now? Because I know Daniela and then this next person who took on the client
Yeah.
facing. How strong are you guys now in terms of your
We
numbers?
always fluctuate a little bit, but in the past year, we've like 4x to the size of our team. So we're now about 15 across the world. Yeah. So, we've got team members across the US and also, across the world. We've got some team members in Pakistan and the Philippines. So, but on a day to day basis, collaborating in our Slack, it's about 15 of us.
Okay, amazing. And your support members from Pakistan and the Philippines, are they also like through staffing agencies and virtual assistant type setups? Is that how you got hold of them?
Yeah. So we've actually, our Philippines team members, I think the first person we hired, we actually just celebrated her year anniversary, Fly, who actually
Nice.
took on Daniela's kind of took over Daniela's, kind of virtual assistant,
Like
my
the initial
executive
stuff.
assistant
Yeah.
role. Yep. Firestarter is on a fire line here in Connecticut. So I apologize for the fire
Or,
truck going by my office here. It's at least
or
sort of
it's
on
cool.
brand.
It's nice. Nice.
Yeah. Yeah. So we explored different pathways, but ended up just going on, I think it's onlinejobs.ph and hiring our Philippines based team members there. We've also had great success with Upwork over the years. So quite a few of the people who work on our team are through Upwork as well.
Okay,
And I
nice.
think my goal, in hiring people has always been a lot of people, are set up as contractors, but we really build long term relationships. And so, even if technically someone's a contractor, it's like we work together
Keep
as
that
if
for a
we
while.
are. an ongoing, cohesive team.
Like a full-time in-office kind of thing almost.
Yeah. Yeah.
Got it. And are you still looking to grow even further? I mean, I know that's usually the goal with businesses. Like we want to get bigger and bigger. So what's kind of the next steps for Firestarter? Where are you guys going next? What's the next big thing? Because I know the
For
big
sure.
change
Yeah.
to be into personal, which is a massive shift. So what's the next?
Yes.
What's the shift if there's one coming?
Yeah, there was a lot of building behind the scenes in the past few years to reach where we are today. And about a year ago, a little over a year ago, things really reached an inflection point, and all of that building started actually, like the thing that we were working on, started to actually grow and take off and not just be something that we were trying, right? And so it's been, a year of really big growth for us in the new part of the business. And I'm just really excited to keep growing it. We went, in this past year, we went from 3 clients on our Firestarter Funnels platform to over 130 clients. So it's just
Big
been,
uptick.
this journey of, building up, all of the support around that and not doing everything perfectly along the way, but just being really committed to learning, doing better, as we grow. So I think the first chapter of the business, I'm proud of it, but it wasn't ever something that I felt deeply called to scale. I thought about it, and I would kind of surround myself in business growth rooms, but it just wasn't something I was just really excited to kind of grow really big. But this just I've got a big vision for it, and it really feels like more of a community, a movement. And so there's kind of no limit to how I really want to grow it, because I see it also as the ripple effects of it, because, what we do is really helping people bring their own visions and dreams in their life to life. So I just want to have the ripple effects of, more impact.
It's like you're building a community and not like a business. Like these are
Yes.
my people. Like all of these clients, they're part of my group.
Yes. Yeah. And people really do, identify as fire starters, which has always been, part of my vision for the brand from the beginning. It's actually a little bit of a funny story. When I came up with the name Firestarter, when I was evolving from the freelance career into more of a business and a team, I didn't have a business plan. I actually wrote a manifesto. I came up with the name Firestarter Interactive, and I just, wrote a manifesto on a big notebook piece of paper with a permanent markers. Yeah, like, this is what we stand for. This is what we're all about. This is my vision. This is how I want it to feel. This is who I want to work with. This is the team. This is what we stand for. And all of it still really rings through today. So I think that's back to the kind of like brand and identity. I think I really just believe in the power of starting with that foundation of the identity, the vision for it, and then building everything from there.
Yeah. So you've kept the core values from like day 0, basically up until now.
Yeah. Yes.
And obviously with, expansion and natural growth, there comes constraints. I mean, you mentioned not doing things perfectly as well. That's every business ever. But what to use, something that you guys definitely notice could be improved on, whether it's with the right tool or the right team member, like where do you guys think, okay, I can actually make this better. I can fix this.
Well, I think we're really looking at our production right now, and it's such a dynamic time with AI, and I'm spending a lot of time thinking about how we can accelerate results for our clients. So, when we were doing more manual building, on high level, building everything out manually, there's just a lot of steps, in that process. But what can be done now with design and deploying things quickly at a really high level with code is just really exciting. And so we're really kind of like pushing the edge of how can we get our clients launched faster, but also in a way that is even higher quality. So I'm really excited about kind of pushing the envelope with that and just figuring out, kind of seamless processes around it.
Mm-hmm. So it's still ringing back to what you mentioned about what branding is to you. It's the tech foundation. You're still pushing that even now with
yes,
the bubble we're in now. So that still rings true.
Because it's a lot of work. It's a lot of work to, build a brand and a business. And so, helping take some of that off of people's plates, because there's a lot of great coaching out there, but at the end of the day, someone's hands need to, do the things of the business. So that's where we really try to come in.
Yes, you're really trying to just automate that, keep pushing the tech foundation like you mentioned.
Yeah.
Okay, awesome. Well, that's amazing. Willa, thank you so much for sharing us your guys' story, what you're looking for next. This is a little bit kind of off the beaten path. Well, not in podcasts, but for this podcast. But to end off, I just wanted to know if there's something that you could say to any other people that might be where you were back before COVID. So trying to get your feet off the ground, trying to build your brand, build your business, because it's a big risk. It's scary out there, without like job security and stuff. When you're doing it for yourself, it's kind of scary. Is there anything you would tell people who are trying to get to that next stage on how to get your business out there? Is there any kind of quote or piece of
Sure.
advice
Yeah.
you?
Yeah. I'll give like two quick thoughts that kind of relate to each other. First thing, I just am such a believer in like action creating clarity. So we can kind of feel like, oh, I just have to kind of have the perfect plan or, figure it all out before I jump into the arena. But I'm such a believer in jumping into the arena and figuring it out as you go, and that we get clarity and learn 10 times faster when we're actually doing the thing and like figuring out where we fit in and what we're building by actually doing. So that's kind of piece one. Piece two, kind of like back to the just like tactical of how do I actually build a business that costs money. You really have to kind of like invest in things as you're growing. For me, I think knowing that I could cover my expenses very early on, waitressing for the first year, that gave me the freedom to just get my feet under me and figure out what I was doing and put myself out there. So not, putting all the pressure on yourself immediately when you have this idea to just like have it be monetized 100% and supporting you out of the gate. I think the flip side of that is, if you are in a full-time job and supported in that way, knowing also when you do need to make that leap and just kind of commit to it and not having that be always the excuse standing between you and really going all in on the thing that you're here to build. So that's what I would say.
Okay, thank you so much for that. So there you heard it, folks. Take action and have a little bit of backup so that you don't completely go all in on making your money first off. Thank you so much for your time, Willa. It's been an absolute pleasure. And yeah, we'll be chatting to you soon on, getting you your clips and everything from this. But thank you so much for your time.
Awesome. Thank you, Ryan. Such a pleasure. Take care.